For I hate divorce, says Jehovah. These are not the words of a man. These are the words of the Creator, the one who designed the sacred covenant of marriage before time was measured by clocks and calendars. From the very beginning he spoke, "A man will leave his father and mother and stick to his wife, and the two will become one flesh." Not just partners, not just companions, one flesh. But in a world that has normalized division, where covenants are broken with the stroke of a pen and vows are tossed aside in favor of fleeting feelings, Jehovah remains unchanged. He has not forgotten the wife of your youth. He remembers every tear, every promise, every moment you stood before him. He witnessed the union, and he mourns when it is torn apart. Divorce was never his plan, only permitted because of hard hearts, never celebrated in heaven. The Son of God affirmed this with unwavering clarity. What God has yoked together, let no man put apart. This message isn't about condemnation, it's about restoration. It's about seeing marriage the way Jehovah sees it, a holy bond, not a contract. It's about returning to the ancient path, where honor, love, sacrifice, and covenant are not just words, but sacred realities. So today we look through the lens of Scripture. We listen not to culture, but to the Creator. And we discover what it truly means when Jehovah says, "Let marriage be honorable among all." That is why a man will leave his father and his mother, and he will stick to his wife, and they will become one flesh. Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. If a man marries a woman, but she does not please him because he found something indecent about her, he must write out a certificate of divorce for her and dismiss her from his house. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1. It is because Jehovah has acted as a witness between you and the wife of your youth, with whom you have dealt treacherously, although she is your partner and your wife by covenant. Malachi chapter 2, verse 14. For I hate divorce, says Jehovah, the God of Israel. Malachi chapter 2, verse 16. Moreover, it was said, "Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce." Matthew chapter 5, verse 31. However, I say to you that everyone divorcing his wife except on account of sexual immorality makes her a subject for adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Matthew chapter 5, verse 32. And the Pharisees came to him intent on testing him. And they asked, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife on every sort of grounds?" Matthew chapter 19, verse 3. In reply, he said, "Have you not read that the one who created them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, 'For this reason a man will leave his father and his mother and will stick to his wife, and the two will be one flesh.'" Matthew chapter 19, verses 4 and 5. So that they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has yoked together, let no man put apart. Matthew chapter 19, verses 6 and 7. He said to them, "Out of regard for your hard-heartedness, Moses made the concession to you of divorcing your wives, but that has not been the case from the beginning." Matthew chapter 19, verse 8. I say to you that whoever divorces his wife, except on the grounds of sexual immorality, and marries another, commits adultery. Matthew chapter 19, verse 9. And Pharisees approached, intent on testing him, and they asked whether it was lawful for a man to divorce a wife. He answered them, "What did Moses command you?" They said, "Moses allowed the writing of a certificate of dismissal and divorcing her." Mark chapter 10, verses 2 through 4. But Jesus said to them, "Out of regard for your hard-heartedness, he wrote this commandment for you." Mark chapter 10, verse 5. However, from the beginning of creation, he made them male and female. For this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother, and the two will be one flesh, so that they are no longer two, but one flesh. Mark chapter 10, verses 6 through 8. Therefore, what God has yoked together, let no man put apart. Mark chapter 10, verse 9. Whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery against her. And if ever a woman after divorcing her husband marries another, she commits adultery. Mark chapter 10, verses 11 and 12. Everyone who divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery, and whoever marries a woman divorced from her husband commits adultery. Luke chapter 16, verse 18. For instance, a married woman is bound by law to her husband while he is alive, but if her husband dies, she is released from the law of her husband. Romans chapter 7, verse 2. So then, while her husband is living, she would be called an adulteress if she became another man's. But if her husband dies, she is not an adulteress if she becomes another man's. Romans chapter 7, verse 3. To the married people I give instructions, not I but the Lord, that a wife should not separate from her husband. But if she does separate, let her remain unmarried, or else be reconciled with her husband. And a husband should not leave his wife. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 10 and 11. For this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother, and he will stick to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 31. Let marriage be honorable among all, and let the marriage bed be without defilement. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. Marriage is not man's invention. It is Jehovah's holy design. It is not just a contract, but a covenant, sealed in the presence of the Most High. He was there when you made your vows, when hearts were joined, when two became one. And he still stands as a faithful witness, even when that covenant is tested by time, trial, and temptation. In a world that often says you deserve better or you can always start over, Jehovah calls out with unwavering truth, I hate divorce. Not because he is harsh, but because he is holy. Because he knows the devastation, the fragmentation, the pain that it brings to the man, to the woman, to the children, and to the very soul of society, but he also offers hope. Not the hope of escape, but the hope of restoration. The hope of hearts softened, of forgiveness exchanged, of love rekindled in his image. The message is clear. What God has yoked together, let no man put apart. So if you're hurting, struggling, or even on the brink, know this: Jehovah is still in the business of healing marriages. He is still calling husbands and wives back to their covenant, and he is still able to turn brokenness into beauty, if you let him. Let the words of Scripture anchor you. Let the Spirit of God convict and comfort you. And let your marriage become a reflection of his faithfulness to us. A bond not to be broken, but to be honored, cherished, and fought for. Because in the eyes of Jehovah, marriage is sacred, covenant is eternal, and love, his love, never fails. If this message spoke to your heart, share it. Stand for marriage. Stand with Jehovah. And let his truth restore what the world has tried to tear apart. This is not the end. This is a call to return to him, to each other, to covenant.